So the main difference with the results that we see for 2011 is we're seeing a higher proportion of leases that are coming up to expiry ending up being with vacant properties. So back in the late 90s we're seeing far more of an instance where tenants were far more likely to renew, whereas in today's market it's far more likely that they'll leave that property, and in addition the landlord's left with vacant property. There's an opportunity to relet, but that's not really happening in this kind of market. We're looking at what's happening at the break, so the lease still has a bit of time to run, but there's a break option. More often than not, that break option is for the tenant only to take that break, and it's down to around a 50-50 chance of whether the tenant takes that break or not. Again, in the late 90s, we're looking more like an 80% chance that that tenant will stay. So the fact that it's now down to a 50-50 is quite weak, it's quite poor. In fact, across the board for the 2011 results, we're looking at all-time highs for the vacant stock at lease end and at break, and all-time lows for reletting potential. So it's a very difficult market for landlords to manage that risk. There are opportunities on the other side. So when you've got a vacant property, there's an opportunity to refurbish or perhaps change the use. So a lot of offices, particularly in London, could be changed over to residential property. So it's not all bad news, and really it is the asset manager's time to shine, if you like. But by and large, it's a very difficult market, and what landlords seem to be doing, as far as our data show, is trying to anticipate when they're getting to a lease end or a break and try and extend that lease or re-gear that lease, or if not, when it's getting to the lease end, trying to do whatever they can to keep that tenant in and to renew. More often than not, they're foregoing their reversionary potential. So even though the book value suggests that the new rent will be at a much higher level than the passing rent, actually what they're doing is agreeing, say, the same rent or a lower rent. So they're losing out on a bit of the rent, but at least they're keeping the tenant in. They're avoiding a vacant period, the higher vacancy costs as well, and extending that lease length onwards. And that's got an uptick value for their capital values as well. So there's a bit of a revaluation angle to it. So that's why they're doing it. But yeah, the rent levels are kind of suffering as a result, and that's another thing that we've seen in the data.